this way. Hold on. There we go. Okay, perfect. All right, so as I was saying, I'm just going to repeat for 10 seconds. So we're talking about our mindset and how we handle our mindset during chaotic times, during stressful times. And we discuss also how our minds and our emotions have very conflicting feelings. But there's one really powerful thing that we learn in the field of neurology is that you can actually, in psychology actually, you can rewire your brain and get it into a better mind space once you think a different mindset. So like that Friday when I was about to lose it and I saw this Erev Pesach, I was stressed out. We did Seders to go for a lot of people and I was super duper stressed. And what did I do? Instead of going off the handle, I started going off the handle. And one of my kids said Ma, you're losing it. Calm down. And so I just was okay, I know it takes me 12 to 15 seconds to stay calm and to be calm. So I just need to do that. I just need to calm myself down. Because again, knowing that. So first of all, if you know one thing tonight is 12 to 15 seconds, you can rewire your brain to a better mind space. So if you walk away with one thing, this is good. The other thing is that we have to really right now give space for the feelings that we have. The feelings that we have are conflicting, they're challenging, they're overwhelming, there's a lot of mixed emotions. We may feel guilty, we may feel stressed out about something simple, but we may feel guilty. I had this conversation with one of my kids where basically they were in the chiton, they didn't get in, they were supposed to get their sweatshirt never came, and it came out that the child felt guilty, that they felt upset about a sweatshirt when they knew that people are dying, right? So there's so much going on here within our mindset. And then the other thing that's interesting is there's something called the negativity bias. Now, what's the negativity bias? I'll explain it to you briefly, and we're going to try to keep the science and psychology a little short, but I think that all of these things are actually really, really practical. So with this negativity bias, what does it mean? It means that your brain will actually hold on to negative experiences more than positive ones. What does that mean? That means that right now, let's say you wake up and you're having a good morning and a good day and things are going well. But then someone in the house snaps at you, or you show up at breakfast and there's no food, or you burn your lunch, or you just you're in a funk because you just got bad news, right? So, or I'll give you a perfect example of this actually. I was traveling to Houston 100 miles away to give this class. This workshop, because I'm very passionate about this and you'll kind of understand why. And as I'm going there, so it was before I had to go and I realized I have work to do and I'm tired, didn't sleep well the night before. And my husband's like, you know what? I'll just drive you. I'll take you. And we have triplets, they're 10, they can't stay home alone. So the triplets within a second, they may have had plans and all of a sudden, guess what happens? They decide they're going to jump in the car too. So they jump in the car, my husband's driving me, everything's calm, we drive 100 miles, I even brought a pillow and I took a nap, a cat nap, so I'm energized and good to go. 5 minutes before we get to our destination. Now, no one fought in the car, which that alone, you ever took family road trips? Okay, you nod if you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. They're not always peachy or pleasant. Okay? No one fought. They weren't even just plugged into a screen. They actually were getting along and chatting and laughing. 5 minutes before we get to destination, we hit traffic. Okay? And the traffic isn't insane, but it's enough traffic that now I'm just going to make it on time. And that puts a lot of pressure on me. So I walk into the school and the person who asked me to come in, she says, how's it going? I said, oh my gosh, you never believe the traffic. I'm running late. I'm so sorry. And as those words are coming out of my mouth, I realized, whoa, negativity bias. I just had a husband who just dropped what he was doing to take me. I had kids who dropped what they were doing to jump in the car. I had no one fighting. I took a nap. How amazing. I could look at 5 amazing experiences, and yet the fact that I was late, that was stressful to me. Okay? Our brains are naturally hardwired. Can anyone think of why our brains are hardwired to hold on to negative experiences? Actually, scientists describe it, or psychologists describe it as the Teflon velcro effect. So that basically a positive experience is going to be Teflon. It will, you know what a Teflon pan is? Anyone here, raise your hand if you know what a Teflon pan is. Okay, a Teflon pan is a frying pan that has a black coating that helps things slide off. So negative experiences could slide off, positive ones could slide off, and negative ones stick, like Velcro. Can you think of why we would be hardwired that way? It almost feels unfair. Why would we be hardwired that way? Can you think of why we'd be hardwired that way?
To protect ourselves.
Why? Give me an example. Protect yourselves from what?
To protect yourself from getting hurt or getting into that space again.
Okay, we want to protect, Hashem wants us to protect ourselves from getting in that bad negative space again. Yeah, what else?
Maybe like our default is to like grow, so this is helping us grow and
Okay, awesome. To help us grow, that's another amazing example. What else? Anyone think of why we'd be hardwired? It almost seems unfair. I was once giving this workshop, oopsies, and someone said, that is so unfair. Why would it be hardwired? Like, why are we like set up to fail? Any other possible hypotheses or theories? Okay. It's how we're hardwired. It's part of, like, it talks about it even in, like, in Mishnah, it talks about, like, someone who has, 25 wants 50, or someone has 50 wants 100. And by the way, we're hardwired that way, too. That because basically we keep wanting more because we're created like Hashem, and Hashem wants more and does more, and so is always creating and always doing, and so we're actually hardwired that way. Which is why, by the way, you ever spent a lot of time vegging out, okay, maybe on an app for too long? I know if I'm on Instagram for too long, right, your brain, like, you like veg out, and your brain afterwards just like hurts almost, like your head, you're foggy. We're hardwired to do, okay? We're hardwired to acquire, to do more and more and more. And that's kind of the drive that pushes us to accomplish. So it's kind of a really, really good thing, but it can also be a stressful thing. So the other thing is that aside from that, like the Mishnah says that whoever has a little bit has a lot, anyone think in their own lives an example of like you have, let's say, this iPhone, but then like the next one comes out and suddenly the iPhone that you have just like doesn't seem to be enough and you like need the next one? Did that ever happen to anyone? Where like whatever you have, like I have these sneakers and I love them, but then like the next sneakers come out and now it's like, those sneakers not really anymore. We're like that. We're humans are like that. We have new things, we love them, they give us we enjoy them, and then like, I want more. And it's part of what helps us accomplish in life. It's part of what helps us grow and acquire and do. And it's a really, 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 really good thing. But it can affect us in a negative way, where we're never happy. You ever had your parents say to you, you're never happy? You have more and more and more. You're never happy. You never had that? I've at times felt that about myself, about my own teenagers, right? Like, so, but we're hardwired that way. And it's not a mistake. It's not a mistake. Okay? It's frustrating, but it's not a mistake. So what do we do about this? What do we do about this negativity bias? What about we do about this fact that we're hardwired for negative experiences? So there is this really famous psychologist. His name is Sean Acker, and he was actually made it to Harvard in graduate school, and it was like his goal. And he was a psychologist, and he got there and he realized that everyone who was there, all these like students, like imagine like your key dream school, what is it that they're doing? What is it that they're all depressed? So Sean Acker's like, something is going on. So he got permission actually to live within the freshman dorms, not in a creepy way, just like to learn about why people were so miserable. And what did he find out? He actually gave at Harvard University the most highly attended lecture at Harvard on psychology, this subject. And what his conclusion was, you need to be grateful. That gratitude actually leads us to be happier people. When you feel grateful, you will be happier. You ever had a situation where you didn't always appreciate everything you had, but then you passed a homeless person on the street, or you were aware of someone in your class who really had no money and couldn't afford whatever they needed, and suddenly you appreciated what you have? I know here we had this in Houston, in Texas, when we had it with Hurricane Harvey. We're like, yeah, did I ever really appreciate my little house? Maybe not. But like when you saw everyone's houses and homes and everything destroyed, like suddenly it was perspective. It gave us a dose of gratitude, but we shouldn't wait until we show up at the situation where like someone else's life is destroyed. Oh, then I'll be happy. Or then I can be grateful for what I have. Or like, wow, I don't like my iPhone, whatever, but someone else doesn't even have a phone, right? So there's a lot of different levels. Hold on a second. This meeting has been upgraded with the host. Okay, sorry. I just got a notification, but I'm glad you upgraded whatever you needed to upgrade. So there's a lot of those different ways that we could be happy, but there's got to be a way to do that more constantly, more consistently. So I once went to this bar mitzvah, and it was a very good friend's son's bar mitzvah, and it was like a big deal because I was going with one of our children, and how often, when your parents run a busy Chabad house, and this bar mitzvah, you don't live in a city with other kids, so this bar mitzvah was 100 miles away, and we were going together, and it was like a really beautiful bar mitzvah. When we got there, and the bar mitzvah boy was talking all about the subject, about gratitude, about modani, and it was like so interesting to hear a bar mitzvah boy talk about gratitude. Most bar mitzvah boys like, today I'm a man, and you're like, you're a man? You're not really. You're like 12, and you're like you're 13. Your voice is squeaky. Like, you're not a man, right? But like, that's a typical, this week's Torah portion, blah, blah, blah. But that's the typical talk. This one was a little bit different. And because this bar mitzvah boy actually like really, 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 he had a genetic condition, and he understood that and once he had been in a coma, and, it's okay. It's okay. We'll fix it. Thank you. He had been in a coma when I think he was 8 or 9 when he was younger, a complication of the condition, and he came out of the coma, and so therefore he was really grateful. And what he spoke about, which is so interesting within gratitude, is when's the best time to be grateful. So there's this other famous psychologist, and this famous psychologist talks about, his name is Brian Tracy. And he talks about the best time to be grateful is actually first thing in the morning. Why? He describes that the first thing in the morning is your rudder of your day. Does anyone know what a rudder is? Many of you are from Florida, so you've been on ships. What's a rudder? Can someone share with us? What's a rudder? A rudder? Just raise your hand if you know what it is. Huh?
In the back of a ship.
It's the back.
Direction.
Yeah, it's this little piece in the back of the ship. So the captain sits at their steering wheel, big and shiny and fancy and brass. But in the back of the ship, there's this little rudder, and that actually steers and points the direction of the ship. And so if you ever saw, now you know what a rudder is? Shake your head if you saw what a rudder is. So a rudder can be murky. It's not pretty. Okay, it's in moss. It's hardly visible, and yet it decides and determines which direction the ship is going to go. So Brian Tracy talks about how those first thoughts, that's your rudder of your day. So the first thoughts, according to all these psychologists, are essential. Sean Acker talks about, you want to have a better day, you want to be grateful. When you wake up in the morning, list 3 things you're grateful for. Don't turn on the news, don't do that. Now, why first thing in the morning? Now we're going to go back to science for a second. Your brain has different brain waves. Everyone here ever heard about brain waves? Just nod yes or no. Okay, so basically, if you put electrodes on your brain and you're able to see, there's different waves that go in different patterns depending on what you're doing. So when you're running, your brain waves are one way. When you're sleeping, your brain waves are a different way. They're called alpha waves, beta waves, gamma waves, delta waves, a lot of different names for them. It's not a name of a sorority, it's a name of your brain waves. And your brain is first thing in the morning, and right before you go to bed, your brain is in alpha mode. What does alpha mode mean? Your brain is the most like a sponge. That means whatever goes into your brain goes deeper in, because there's not much crossing your consciousness yet. So whatever actually goes through your mind goes deeper into your brain and becomes more part of your subconscious, more part of how you will think. So it's no wonder that the best time for gratitude is when? First thing in the morning. Because then the mindset of gratitude will go deeper into your psyche, deeper into your mind, deeper into your brain, deeper into your mindset, deeper into your attitude. So what these scientists and psychologists are saying is take the time to do this, because gratitude will actually change your life. So I was giving this class, and there was, I've taught this class, teenagers, college students, mothers, you name it, many different crowds. And I was earlier this year, I was giving this class in front of one of the professors at our university who happens to be a neuroscientist and a psychologist. And I was like a little bit like self-conscious, like here I'm talking about science and psychology, neurology, and she's actually a scientist, a psychologist, a neurologist, and she says, I have to tell you something. They did a case study with college students where they divided 2 groups. They gave same major, same test, same scores. They gave one group, they had to think before they went into their tests about things they're grateful for. And the other group, don't think, just go and take your test. They both studied, they both did the same prep. The group that actually took the time to think gratitude before they took the test actually did better. Across the board. She actually told me she was going to send me the study so I could add it to this class because I find it fascinating. Now, what do we know that Judaism gives us for thousands and thousands and thousands of years? What do we do first thing in the morning? What's our practice? We've been doing it since,
Daven.
We daven before you daven. I don't daven in my bed.
Oh, my da'ani.
You say my da'ani, yeah. Right, first thing that we're supposed to say, the first thing that's supposed to come out of our mouth is the moda'ani. What is the moda'ani? Like, it's unbelievable to see that all these scientists and all these psychologists and all these neurologists are trying to figure out the key to being happy, and yet for our sages for thousands of years have taught us to be grateful and to be grateful first thing in the morning. Okay? Because gratitude first thing in the morning will actually change and shape our days. So what we'll do quickly is we'll look at the moda'ani. And you know what? The cool thing is that a 2-year-old says moda'ani and a 90-year-old says moda'ani. Every age group says moda'ani. It's like this equalizing prayer. A rich person says moda'ani, and someone who doesn't have a lot of money says moda'ani. It's like prayer for every age, every gender, every day, no matter what day of the year it is. Stop and be grateful. Start your day with the moda'ani. So what we'll do is we'll unpack the moda'ani a little bit. We'll discuss a little bit of these words, and I will discuss how kind of really the mindset and the reason it's so fundamental is because it really, really, really changes the path of how our days will actually go. And it has some of the most fundamental ideas in Judaism in it. So what is the moda'ani? We start off with moda'ani lefanecha. Modeh, I'm thankful. From the word everyone knows, toda rabah, thank you. We start off first word out of our mouth, gratitude. And not just gratitude, but gratitude is a dose of humility. That means I'm grateful because you gave me something. You gave me something. Modan, and then the next word, ani lefanecha, me and you. Me and God. Ani before you. Me and you. Hashem, we're in a relationship. Me and you. It's you and I. It's me and you. That means this God, this Hashem is involved in my day. First thing in the morning, I'm stopping and I'm acknowledging it. Melech Chai V'Kayam, a living and eternal king. What is that talking about? So first of all, we're talking about this king, Hashem, that's involved in my day, that's forever. Haya, Hova, V'Yihya, was, is, will be, right? This Hashem, who created the whole world, didn't just create it and like set it off into spinning and say like, good luck, peace out, I'm going to eat popcorn and watch this mess. Hashem that's involved in every single aspect of life. Melech Chai V'Kayim, a living and eternal king. And the next thing we say is Shehechazarta Bi Nishmati, that returns my soul to me. What are we talking about? So first of all, Shehechazarta Bi Nishmati, Kabbalah teaches us, Torah teaches us that our neshama, our soul, our godly divine soul, which is a part of us, which infuses us with life and animates us and gives us fuel to be the best we can be, is actually a chelek elokami mamash, is a part of God. And we have it. Now, at night, what's the last thing you do before you go to bed, right? Hopefully Shema. But beforehand, or you do Shema before, right? You want to make sure your cell phone's plugged in. You ever had your cell phone wake up in the morning where you think your phone is plugged in and it's not plugged in? And that you're like starting the day with like no battery? Not a good feeling, right? At night, as we're sleeping, our soul ascends on high and Hashem plugs it in. Hold on, I have a child who doesn't realize I'm still teaching. So hang tight. Masya, Chaimashka. Can you lower your volume for a minute? Thank you. You can go in my shower. Okay, so this living and eternal king gives us, this is the beauty, thank God we have 6 children and everyone's home. And it's wonderful. And some moments it's stressful, but that's part of it, right? We're all going through those moments. Okay, so this living and eternal king gives us back our soul. At night, it ascends on high. It's plugged in. It's repolished. It's given back to us. Okay, our neshama. our soul, a godly soul. And according to science and according to Torah, we're like a 60th of death, because we know if someone doesn't wake up in the morning, they are no longer with us. So we have to appreciate the fact that we wake up in the morning. We stop and we say, Hashem, you have this big world to run, and yet you're involved in my world. You gave me my soul back to start a new day. Nishmati, my soul, my precious connection to you, my unique divine self, Bechemla. And here's such an interesting word. Bechemla means with mercy. That means that maybe yesterday, and some of us could relate to this a little bit more now, maybe yesterday I didn't maximize my day. Maybe I snapped at people. Maybe I stayed on the couch and on my phone all day. I was on, whatever. Maybe I spent too much time on Instagram or TikTok. Please, God forbid. Don't waste your brain cells. Exactly. Whatever. I don't know. I'm not doing TikTok dances, so you're safe. But there's a lot of things we could waste our time with, okay? Like Netflix, whatever. I don't have to, we all can find many ways to waste time, okay? Maybe yesterday I didn't maximize my day. Maybe yesterday I said, okay, today I'm going to wake up, I'm going to daven, I'm going to exercise, I'm going to eat a healthy lunch, and really I woke up, went back to sleep, slept, stayed in my pajamas, ate a bag of chips, went back to, whatever. Everyone knows what these days look like, okay? The productive days, the non-productive days. What happens is Hashem actually saying, I need you today. I'm giving you another day. The world is relying on you. There's something today that you need to accomplish that you couldn't accomplish yesterday. And that's where Hashem has mercy. Because maybe yesterday I really wasn't my best self. Because I certainly have had plenty of those days. Okay? Where it didn't maximize my potential. But God has mercy on me and He gave it to me. Rabba emunasecha, great is your faithfulness. Who's faithful? Whose faithfulness? So one classic explanation is that when we realize that Hashem gave us this day, we are going to have more faith. Great is your faithfulness. You're going to have more faith. Because Hashem gave you, you're going to realize that you have a relationship with this Hashem. You have an neshama with Him. Those are pretty cool things. The other beautiful explanation, which the Rebbe once gave, is our faithfulness, is that actually Hashem has faith in us. He believes in us. He believes in our ability to accomplish something today that we couldn't accomplish yesterday. And the world actually needs us. And it doesn't just need us in general, a theoretical, hypothetical. The world needs us today. Even right now, where we could look and see and say, what is going on? I yesterday was having a discussion with a group of high school girls. And one girl said, what if every day merges into the next? And what's the point of these days? One day, the next day. Has anyone felt that way recently? Another day?
Yeah.
Yes, right? Definitely. What did I even, and then sometimes you're going to bed and you're wait, what did I even accomplish today, right? The day after day after day, I guess Kaylee and Tanya are hanging out together. Very cute. Day after day after day, where we may not know what the point of this day is. But what Hashem is saying, if you wake up in the morning, He's saying, I need you, the world needs you, and there's a point of today. So what we need to do is we need to focus on being grateful. And we need to focus on how we can maximize that faith that Hashem is having in us. And realize that none of us here are scrap material. None of us here are extra. None of us are here for no reason. We're all here for a very important reason, and today's an important day. Now I wanted to share with you. So I once got asked this when I was teaching this class, why are you so obsessed with Modani? So first of all, it's so interesting because there was a young man named Nachum Stillerman, and he delivered groceries for his father's store, and he delivered groceries to Rebbes and Chana, to the Lubavitcher Rebbe's mother. And he got to become friendly, and they would go and first would drop off goods, and he said she was very nurturing and very caring, and then he once, he said, I don't know what it came over him, but I asked the Rebbetzin, what is the Rebbe's favorite prayer? And he afterwards, he was almost embarrassed that he asked that question. But the next week when he went back to deliver groceries, Rebbetzin Khan said, I'm not sure, but I'll get back to you. And the Rebbetzin actually said that the Rebbe said these 12 words of Modani. The 12 words that if we focus on each one can give us such a powerful tool. And one of the things the Rebbe said is that at any age, this message is relevant. A 90-year-old and a 2-year-old. Our babies our youngest are triplets. And when they were in the NICU is the neonatal intensive care unit, and they're 10 now, so they're big. But when they were little, they were born at 32 weeks. Now, if you know, gestation pregnancy is 40 weeks. So that's 8 weeks early, right? That's pretty early. And they were in the hospital for 4 weeks. And before they left the hospital, the hospital has this analysis where they send in this team of psychologists that spends time with each of the babies and gives you advice. That means they left the hospital at 36 weeks. That means 36-year-old babies who would not yet even be born for 4 more weeks were being analyzed by a psychologist to give us advice. And one of the things she said is you can tell that these babies were held daily and spoken to daily. And what was it? We weren't talking philosophy. We weren't talking about clothing or the weather. We were holding them and saying Moda'ani with them. We were holding them and saying Shema with them. So these ideas that we have that are part of who we are, a baby that wouldn't even be born for 4 weeks yet, it affected the child. That a psychologist, top psychologist at Baylor School of Psychology was able to tell that these babies, who were at that point maybe 4 pounds, were held and spoken to daily. And what was it? It was Moda'ani and Shema. So why am I sharing this with you? Because someone once asked me, where did you get so obsessed with it? So actually, that young bar mitzvah boy, the reason, like I said, he knew about it is he had this condition called GSD. And after his bar mitzvah, and his message was so powerful because it was so authentic and it was so real. And after his bar mitzvah, and actually that Shabbos I went home and I spoke to my students about the bar mitzvah because I thought his message was so powerful. And a few weeks, shortly after his bar mitzvah, he had complications from his condition and he went into a coma. And a few weeks after he went into a coma, his bar mitzvah was right before Rosh Hashanah, and by Sukkot, his soul had already left the world. And I remember telling my son that his friend had passed away, and my son said something that was so powerful. It was a very challenging, obviously uncomfortable conversation. And one of the things my son said was, hold on a second, I by mistake minimized my thing. Sorry, people. Okay. There's always those Zoom snafus, and I apologize. One of the things my son said is that when we told him that his friend was in a coma, he was very, very worried. And we said, well, why were you so worried? And he said, because at his bar mitzvah, his message wasn't your typical bar mitzvah boy message. It was almost like his goodbye message to the world. And my son was so aware of the fact that that message was so important. And when I was having a conversation at that point with his parent, his mom, who's a good friend of mine, and we were talking about doing something to commemorate him, I told her it's this message. The world needs the message of you are important, you are significant, you have so much good in your life. You have so much that Hashem and the world needs you for. You gotta step up and do it. You've got to start by being grateful and realizing that gratitude will make you happy. Now, I just want to offer anyone here, because since then, we put together this class. We've taught it all over the world to all different ages. And we actually created these little gratitude cards, the Moda'ani, with a quote from the beautiful bar mitzvah boy, Mendel. Sorry, I'm going to try to do this properly. If you see, and he says, gratitude makes you happy, right? And he talks about the Moda'ani. And the Moda'ani is the first prayer in the morning. And this is actually a quote from his talk. And anyone who wants, I'm happy, you could just drop your address or WhatsApp me your address. Happy to send you a stack of them. They're really good to have by your bed. They're really good to give out. And I know that I've gotten the message years later from people who took this class. This was 5 years ago. The past 5 years, I don't even know how many people have learned this lesson about gratitude and this message from Mendel, but I will tell you that I've gotten messages 3-4 years later from people who said, I started saying Moda'ani and it changed my life. So I know I've been saying Moda'ani all my life, but I have to tell you, I didn't always know what those 12 words meant. How incredible, 12 words, 12 seconds to rewire your brain, 12 words said at the time where your brain is most sponge-like and most absorbent, where psychologists say that the first thoughts that you have that cross your mind are going to shape your day, and those 12 words are what we have for thousands of years been saying it. So I'm giving you a wish. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up, take the time to say Moda'ani, focus on those 12 words, focus on the messages of those 12 words, and realize that you have a gift, and you have a divine, beautiful neshama, and the world needs you. Hashem needs you. And there's something you can accomplish. And right now, where all our days are merging from yesterday, today, tomorrow, what day of the week it is, should I get in pajamas, should I in morning pajamas, afternoon pajamas, eating all day, not sleeping, maybe going for a walk, like our days are, everything's up, insane. Now we need this message even more. So tomorrow morning, wake up with gratitude. And then think of how you can maximize your day. And one of my students shared with me something so beautiful. They told me that their rabbi had told them that they should please take the time to think of 5 people that may be lonely or scared or overwhelmed or going through a hard time during this COVID situation, and reach out to them. So that 2 messages. 1, be grateful. 2, say Moda'ani with kavanah, right? That's, I guess, number 1. And 3, reach out to other people. You never know how you reaching out to someone can make a difference in their life. Okay? So that's a wrap on the formal part. If anyone has any questions, I see there are some questions. Would I be able to repeat who said the best time to be grateful is first thing in the morning? Okay, so there's actually quite a few thoughts in this field of psychology. One was Brian Tracy talks about it being the rudder of the day. Sean Acker was a psychologist who talked about, like, don't wake up and check the news first thing in the morning. Like, focus on that gratitude is actually key to happiness. And there was one more psychologist I just want to quickly see, make sure I have it. There's one more that's very famous in the positive psychology industry. I can't find his name right now. Those are the 2. Oh, Tal Shahar is also another name that's very famous in the positive psychology field. And again, because those first thoughts they go deeper into your brain. So anyone have any questions? Anyone have any comments? Anyone have any thoughts? Anyone? Feel free. Jump in.